Alright, so we're going to start out with Kora this time. Last time around she was actually the hardest one to do. This time around I don't think that's actually the instance. She's not that bad to finish out the quest on this one. Now granted, part of the reason why the last one was so tough is because I just wasn't paying enough attention to realize that I should avoid going into the areas with the monster with the big red sign over its head, which was my fault. Now, I go through here and actually end up slaughtering a whole bunch of stuff in real quick succession, so you're going to see a whole bunch of skips right now, but where she's leading you to a cave, I don't want to actually cut out too much so you can actually see the route to the cave. And I'll do a similar thing in the cave, try to cut out all the fights but leave the general pathing in so you can see which path to take. That being said, I'm not going to just sit here and ramble incessantly, so if you're lost and want to know what the path is, keep watching. Otherwise, there should be a link down at the bottom to jump to where the actual boss fight is. Alright, and like any good RPG side story, there's a save spot just before a boss fight. It's always a nice little signal that you're getting ready to do something that might not end well. So, what are we taking on today? Well, this is going to be a little bit of a letdown, but it's just a plain old Khezu. If you've been wandering around the map, then this guy's not really going to be that big of a surprise for you. And you may have already taken him out a little bit. But, I know I'll mention this elsewhere, you need to be getting some Khezu parts together. His hunting horn is actually really useful for some stuff that we'll do later on. And all of his weapons actually have paralysis on them. So if you're looking for something with status element, he's a good status weapon. So, killing a couple different Khezu here and there, good way to get ahead. He's not a really hard fight in any way, shape, or form. It gives him the boss thing, but really it seems like he takes about as much damage as in the normal way as any regular Khezu. I didn't feel like he was any harder than any other Khezu that I've fought. So, don't be intimidated by this. About the worst thing that he can do is actually paralyze you for a minute, but even then, he shouldn't be hitting hard enough to be a problem. So, we'll jump on to the end and move on to the next side story. Or at least, I'll jump to the end. I'll let it play out so you can see the whole fight.
Thank you.
No! I'll give it my all!
We've got this!
Watch out! Okay. Let's calm down. I won!
Yes!
Keep pushing! I've got this. Got him! You did it!
Nice job!
Whew, that's done.
And you get to see what the rewards are in general for this one, which is they gain the ability to use a secondary weapon, and their Monstie develops a bit. In other words, they just become an all-around better companion. And that's pretty much true across the board. All the companions just pretty much straight up improve from doing the side quests in this chapter. So they're worthwhile to do, at least for the ones that you enjoy using. I tend to have the horrible habit of not actually swapping my companions to match up with the fight that I'm going into, which is a really dumb move. It would make the game significantly easier if I would intentionally pair people up. But that's a mistake I'm making that you can avoid. Now, let's jump into Ogden's second chapter. So, this one is going to involve hunting a very peculiar Seregios. What makes this Seregios so peculiar? He is extremely cunning and actually setting up a trap and hunting a very specific prey. In this case, Arzeros. So save yourself some headache, throw an Arzeros in your party, and get a couple fights in on the way to actually let it level up some. It's not absolutely necessary to use it during the fight, but it can make this a little bit easier if you actually do use one. Instead of just showing myself wandering around in circles for a while trying to figure out where to go, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit to the point where I finally figure out how to get there. And then there's a cinematic that I have to skip, and then he tells me, oh yeah, no, you need an Arzeros. But there is at least one nice thing that happened about that. Once I saw that cinematic and had to actually go back and get what I needed to do this, I ended up getting good, clear footage of how to not waste your time. So I'm going to let this play a little bit. There is one camp that when you warp to that camp, you just basically turn around and you can hop right over the little ravine and get up into this area. And this is the area that you need to be in to actually trigger the boss. So here I am back at camp. And you see I've got my Arzeros loaded up. Looking around to see what Monstie I want to grab. Grab Aratha. And then I just turn around, go up the hill, and voila. So don't be like me and run around in circles for a while and waste your time, because I don't have any idea why it took me so long to figure out where that jump point was. But the first way that I ran around to it, if I'd left the original footage in, you would have never been able to tell it was from that camp. By the way, ground dive is something that your canines can do. So if you have one with you, you can check that out. But once you're up here with your Arzeros, just walk on up into the clearing and you'll get some pretty cool stuff happens and you get the fight. Alright, so Steve comes down to say hi. He's a mostly standard Seregios with one little quirk. While you have an Arzeros out, that's pretty much the exclusive thing that he'll fight. Now, how good is that? Just depends. If you're strong enough, he's really not that bad to actually kill it. Labels him as an Exotic Seregios. But other than that, sort of full focusing on Arzeros when it's out, a lot of his attacks, if you've leveled up decently, can just kind of be ignored. I ignored the need to keep an Arzeros out and just followed him with a little bit of tactics. Like, once I figured out that he does speed in his normal mode, trying to counter the speed attacks, and just sort of try to remember what sorts of things he's doing so that you can actually negate as many of his attacks as possible. But, I don't know, I'm not the type to really enjoy healing enough to want to actually keep Arzeros out. He does do some pretty significant damage that first time around. I didn't really have too many issues actually keeping my health up for the rest of the fight and staying strong enough to not have him one-shot me. So you just got to do a little bit of healing here and there, and he's not that bad. You can use basically anything you want to, because if you kill him quickly, you don't have to defend against a whole lot of those attacks. Or, if you have a strong enough Arzeros, you can just leave the Arzeros out, let him focus it, and just keep it alive, and you'll be good to go. So, whichever strategy you want to do will work for you. This is not one of those things where you absolutely have to do one particular strategy or the other. So, I'll let the rest of the fight pan out, and meet you at the end. Alright, so now it's time to go help out Thea. And just like last time, ultimately we're going to end out in a pig race. I'll just be blunt with you, you really don't need me to walk you through every single step of this. You just might need to see more or less where you need to go to hit the key spots to have this going on. So I'll give this quick introduction, then I'm going to jump on to the next side story. More or less, as long as you actually follow the quest markers, talk to each of the people that you're supposed to talk to, you will ultimately end out in a race with another pig. That pig race is just like the last one. You really need to hit as many of the speed boosts as possible, although one little pointer I will give you is I have noticed it seems like if you miss a bunch of them, they seem to have put pretty excessive rubber banding in on this. And what I mean by that is sometimes in racing games, developers will actually basically tether the NPCs to your character to keep you from both extremely overwhelming them and getting so far behind you cannot catch up. So what tends to happen is if you're getting behind, it will only really let him get so far ahead of you unless you just completely stop so that you actually have some hope of catching up. But at the same time, you can't really get that far ahead of the pig to the point where you really need to be hitting the last couple boosts whenever you're actually doing the race. So it may take you a lap or two to actually get used to where the boosts are, but if you get off on the first lap, don't worry about it. Keep going. You'll probably be able to catch up by the point where you really need to, which is like the last 2 speed boosts you need to hit in order to actually pass him. But if you get really far behind on the second lap, you might as well pause it and go ahead and hit the restart button. But it's not really that hard. It's just a matter of hitting all the speed boosts. And I still have yet to actually see one of the slow ones. I don't know if I'm just missing them or if I'm picking them up and not realizing it or what. But not that bad. You get the same sort of reward you do out of all the other ones. So hop in, do it, and have fun.
As you can will lead you to... Oh! And be sure to watch out for the...
Now.
Yeah, no, I accidentally clipped out Ogden's, but as is normal at this point, Thea gets the option to use a second weapon, and Kagachi gets developed a little bit further, so better companions than they were before. Now, let's go tackle Eleanor's side story and get really close to being finished with the side stories. For her, yet again, we're going to be going out on basically a scavenger hunt where we've got to mark some stuff on the map, or at least try to. For some reason, my markers weren't really working on this one, so I just kind of had to remind myself of where things were at, which will involve killing a couple things and otherwise just picking some stuff up. So we'll jump to each of those spots and then meet back together. First item is easy enough. You can just fly straight from the tower, go across the ravine, and there you have it. Next items that we still need are an Arzeros. We need to blast one with a fire blast so that we can stun it and get the item off of it. And we need to kill us a Yian Garuga because she wants its stomach. So if you can find the feral Bishotten, then if you head on up the hill from him, there will be an Arzeros that you can actually fireball. And when it falls over, you will pick up the royal jelly from it, I believe it is. Yep, royal jelly obtained. And Yian Garuga is not terribly far away from here. They tend to be over in the mountain over to our right at this point. And you can actually see the nice big yellow marker there. But it's just going to be a standard Yian Garuga. It's a little bit of a trek, so I'm going to leave the walk in, but you can jump ahead about a minute or two and see how to get there. There's actually another tower that you can see the tower sticking up pretty well. If you work your way to that tower from the top of it, you can actually see the Yian Garuga really, really well. So you can just hop off the tower in the direction of it, and then it's just a stone's throw away from there. So let's jump ahead to the fight. Like the other side stories at this point, this is really just a standard fight. As a matter of fact, it doesn't even give it any sort of special indicators. Yian Garuga can be a little bit tough, which is even true in the games. So he tends to do technical attacks, and the counter to technical is power. So starting out with Ratha out and using power attacks yourself will put you in a pretty good position. Yet again, if you've been fighting your way around the map and just doing the normal things you should do in most RPGs, you'll probably be strong enough to take him on without a real legitimate problem. Yian Garugas are not the creatures up here that are actually the hard part. So, once you beat him, you'll get the stomach, and as per usual with this particular side quest, you can go on back to camp.
Amazing. Nice one. Are you okay? Come on, everyone.
No! Let's calm down.
Amazing.
Now's your chance.
Keep pushing. We've got this.
All right.
Nice teamwork.
Yeah.
Now, unlike the others, this also does give you access to a cooking note, so it lets you obtain a few more recipes if you want it. But she gets her new weapon, and her Monstie gets upgraded, so everything is stronger now. Now it's time to take on our final side story before we finish up this particular segment of the game, and that is Gaul. As per usual, his stuff involves helping someone out that seems to have somehow gotten themselves in trouble, so you'll be doing quite a bit of traveling. I'll jump to one of the key parts here in just a moment and be sure you understand exactly where you need to go, because you do have to hit the locations in order to actually move his particular campaign along. And by the way, this is just a spot you can hop into for a side quest, so you can basically listen on people's prayers and bring items to them. More or less, you're going to work your way back up to the place where we fought the Yian Garuga, and then continue upward. Your whole goal here is basically to get to the top of the mountain, and once you get up there, like that little spot up there in between those two peaks, so you'll need to switch to a flyer at this point to get to that spot. But once you get up there, the next cinematic part of this will trigger. Now, almost purely by accident, I pick up this Poogie. So, go ahead and get a warning that there is a Poogie there. And then you'll just kind of go over to the edge and look down where he was showing you, and there is a hole to jump down into a little teeny tiny cave right down here. And that part actually makes my stomach lift up regardless of whether or not this is a video game. So, we're back to traveling through caves. All sorts of fun, and you'll see the little tracks that you have to pick up along the way that are lost person tracks. That's the reason why you can't just come straight down to this part from the beginning, because you got to get that one track up on top of the hill. I think. I don't know. I didn't really test it to see if you could just jump to the location where I ultimately know that the guy is. But we'll see. I also tend to just avoid fighting the Khezus, although realistically you probably need to kill a couple, because, yet again, having that hunting horn is going to be super useful whenever it comes time to start trying to kill some of the invasive species. I'll just explain while this fight plays out. Invasive Shogun Centaur, which I have a guide up on, requires that you buff yourself up to a certain level of defense. And I'm pretty sure I mentioned this earlier, but the hunting horn for Khezu actually has two different ones. It has the defensive ditty and then a ability that will actually raise that level of it. You need to play the first one once, and then that one that raises the level twice, and then you win the fight. But you need the parts for Khezu to get it to begin with. Alright, so let's jump ahead just a little bit. Alright, so as you keep progressing down through the cave, what's going to pop up is you're actually going to see a feral Tetranodon down near the end of the tunnel. So, just so you're aware, in case he's giving you any issues, you do not have to beat the feral Tetranodon. Ultimately, there is one you're going to have to fight for this quest, but you do not have to actually fight this guy. I just decided at some point, I was like, you know what, he would actually probably not be that much of a challenge. Well, in the long run, he's not, but it absolutely does take a minute to whittle him down. He's a little bit stronger than the average Tetranodon. I will say this much. I'll let the fight play out so you can see him as if he's a normal boss. The one note kind of worth making, though, is beating him is actually worthwhile because this is a really convenient camp. Not to mention it lets you go ahead and start altering the habitat restoration for this particular area. So, do you have to beat him? No. If he's giving you a lot of trouble, just go ahead and skip past him. But if you can beat him, you absolutely should. And you'll see it just takes time. You just have to be careful not to hit the part that's glowing. Whenever he's in this mode, wait until he goes in the mode where all the little sparkly blue bits go back before you try to break that off of him. And if you do successfully break it, it depowers him enough that even though it still takes forever to whittle his health down, he's nowhere near the threat. Like, that hits really hard until you break that stone. Once you break that stone, he doesn't really hit that hard anymore. And that's sort of the key with all these feral creatures, is if you're strong enough to actually get the part broken that has the stones on it, it significantly depowers them and makes them a whole lot more manageable. They don't really tend to have the ability to actually one-shot multiple characters after that. And you can just kind of take your time fighting them like a normal creature. Because he is just, at the end of the day, a slightly souped-up normal Tetranodon, and Tetranodon is not that dangerous to begin with. And you do need to be able to beat a normal one, because you'll see here in just a little bit. But I'll let this fight continue to play out, and you can kind of see how I just fumble my way through it and still manage to successfully actually beat him.
Good one. Leave it to me! Didn't work? Don't overdo it.
Thanks.
Now's your chance!
This'll do it! How's this?
Watch out!
You alright? Don't overdo it. Perfect.
Yes!
Ready!
Let's calm down.
Don't push yourself.
You alright? Don't overdo it. They're open!
Watch out! Now!
Murray!
This'll do it!
Take that!
Alright. Now's our chance.
No! No!
You alright?
Now's your chance!
Going all in!
We've got this!
Watch out!
Ready!
Let's calm down!
Nice!
Alright! power.
Hey!
Right.
Good one.
You too, Captain.
Alright, with the fight finished, we now have a new camp set up, and so a little bit of a side story within the side story. Yet again, not absolutely necessary. You can actually dodge him and still make it to where you need to go to in this cave system to actually finish this part out. And that is down this other little branch here. As a matter of fact, if you run into him and he kills you and it sends you back to that waypoint, you can actually come back in by going underneath the waterfall in the main area and just kind of branching back down this corridor and then coming down here. And just a heads up, what you're going to end up doing is you're going to end up fighting a completely normal Tetranodon. So if you were having trouble with Tetranodon in general, you may want to soup it up a little bit. This is the quest that I would say out of all the ones that you have to do as far as the side stories for this chapter goes, that has the potential to give you the most problems. Do I think it will realistically give you that many problems? No. It's not that bad if you're only fighting the things you have to fight. Could it? If you've been avoiding a whole bunch of the encounters, then absolutely. And I guess now that I think about it, if you're trying to do a low-level run, I would probably recommend trying to figure out a way to brute force your way through the side stories so that you at least get the upgrades for the side characters. Because while you're keeping your level minimum, that would help make them extra potent. It might be a little challenging to do that and keep your level at a minimum, though. But yeah, no, just normal Tetranodon. That's all it is. You got a Tetranodon harassing some dude in a cave that managed to miraculously survive like 100-foot fall off the side of a cliff. I don't know, whatever. Video games don't have to have real-world logic, right? But this guy, if you fought the feral one and won, this guy is nothing. It's that fight, but starting out after you've broken the stones and then some. So he's even easier than the last one was. Just use the appropriate weapon on the appropriate part. You really, Tetranodon's simple enough. You don't even necessarily have to worry about being properly matched up with the right types. Like, you're just going to do enough damage to probably win in the long run. But Toby Kadachi helps because he's electric. So if you happen to have Astalos with you, there you go. Which, now I'm thinking about it, I may take the time to go back and actually farm up Astalos enough to get Bolt Reaver and pop him into the party. Yeah, I think it's about time that I go through and start making some shuffling on the Monstie party, but we'll see between this and the next video. If y'all are interested in actually seeing what things I farm up and how I do that, just let me know and I'll make a video on it too. But otherwise, I'm going to continue making the chapter videos. Alright, so I'll catch back up with you whenever we finish this fight.
They're open.
Now's your chance!
Good one. Murray!
Now's your chance.
Well done.
This'll do it. How about this?
Watch out!
Ready.
Calm down.
Take that. Yes. Keep pushing.
Don't be mad at me.
Watch out! You did it!
Keep it up. Go.
That should finish it.
All right!
Right.
Good one.
You too, Captain.